You want to be part of the team? You have to play by the rules. Do you understand?
A glossy big screen adaptation of the classic 1960s puppet series Thunderbirds sounded like it could have been a fun time at the movies. But then again, people once thought open sewers were an exciting development in urban planning.
Thunderbirds are go!
Thunderbirds.
But in this family of heroes, there is one son left behind.
Thunderbirds was a 2004 adaptation of the 1960s puppet series of the same name. It was a film that didn't do all that well at the box office on release, nor did it find much appreciation among fans of the original series, but over time has found its own audience, an audience that the film had originally been aimed at, people who were kids in the 2000s. We are slightly amending our original review to better reflect that.
You must be kidding.
And to talk about what the film's star has gotten up to.
Thunderbirds are go.
Thunderbirds was the most successful of Jerry and Sylvia Anderson's Supermarionation series from the 1960s. Supermarionation shows combined marionette characters with fantastic special effects and were generally successful wherever they were screened, but Thunderbirds was the real deal. Its two 1960s big screen adaptations, however, made about as much impression as somebody attacking a Martian war machine with a paper plane. Thunderbirds was about ex-astronaut Jeff Tracy and his 5 otherwise unemployed sons, Scott, Virgil, Alan, Gordon and John, who operated the fabulous Thunderbird rescue machines for secret organisation International Rescue. They're helped out by a wide cast of characters: inventor Brains, housekeeper Kirano, his daughter Tintin, and London agent Lady Penelope and her chauffeur Parker. Whenever there's a big disaster, International Rescue is on the scene to help out. Occasionally they'll come up against the machinations of the Hood, Kirano's half-brother, but he's often trying to make off with the secrets of International Rescue to sell on the black market. Look, IP theft is serious business. Over the years, the rights to the various Supermarionation shows changed hands more times than a bright orange jet ski, but by the mid-90s, Thunderbirds seemed destined to finally hit the big screen again.
I get the picture and I like it.
By the time it was finally released in 2004, well, things didn't go so well.
No, that's negative!
Thunderbirds has Jeff Tracy and his 4 oldest children off saving people, while the youngest, Alan, is still in high school, waiting for his chance to join the family business.
Why not me?
Because you're too young.
Alan and his offsider Fermat, the son of International Rescue's resident boffin Brains,
Hello, boys.
are picked up from school by Lady Penelope and given a lift back home to Tracy Island. Alan Tracy is champing at the bit to leave school and pilot a Thunderbird of his own, because the world needs more high school dropouts who flunked mathematics flying rocket-powered craft.
Wish that was me.
No, Alan, you wouldn't stand a chance.
So Alan does whatever most bored and frustrated teens do. And after that he goes joyriding in a Thunderbird. Gets chewed out by his dad because Dad just doesn't understand Alan. Why the hell would you want to understand Alan?
You need to grow up.
Meanwhile, International Rescue's usually unseen nemesis has plans to take over the Thunderbird craft.
I'm going to use the Thunderbirds to rob the largest banks in the world, starting with the Bank of London.
So very quickly, the Hood manages to trap Jeff Tracy and his sons on a crippled Thunderbird 5 in orbit around Earth, and it's up to Alan Tracy, the perennial whiny immature brat of the Thunderbirds universe, to save his family. For most of the film, the titular craft sit idle or damaged, while Alan Tracy, Fermat Hackenbacker and Kirano's daughter Tintin traipse across the lovely Tracy Island trying to find ways to beat the Hood's plans.
You broke on my nose.
Yes, that was very much the intention of the maneuver.
Lady Penelope and Parker appear on the scene, but the Hood's powers of mind control are formidable. Mind control is not that far-fetched. Have you ever been told the water in a swimming pool will change colour if somebody takes a leak? That worked on me, but it didn't work on my cousin Ted, or as we know him, Piss Pool Ted, who is banned from every public swimming pool across the country.
Kirano, have you seen Lady P?
Yes. Well,
Eventually, Alan and company are able to free the Tracys trapped in space and all meet up in London to put a stop to the Hood's plans. Again, the Hood's supernatural powers make it tricky, but Tintin, who's basically the Hood's niece, has inherited some of her uncle's gifts and Alan manages to prevail.
I don't want to save your life. But it's what we do.
Huzzah! Thunderbirds is not a film with a great reputation.
Thunder turd.
Somebody once tried to show me the film on DVD, and I think I asked them to turn it off after about 5 minutes in favour of just watching the DVD screensaver, which, truth be told, might have been a more entertaining way to spend an evening. The effects were about on par and the dialogue is somehow better.
Just look at that!
As for the film Thunderbirds, after watching it properly after so many years, how is it? This is a film that a lot of people absolutely despise. There wasn't much I liked, but there is some good. The most glaring issue in a film called Thunderbirds is the notable lack of Thunderbirds actually doing anything Thunderbirdy for the most part. The actual design of the craft exterior are in keeping with the original designs. They are realised nicely with models and CG. Live action Tracy Island works pretty well, so there are no major complaints there. Most of the characters are reasonably well cast for what this film is trying to achieve.
FAB.
The visuals in this film are generally quite good. I mean, there are films from 2004 with far worse effects than Thunderbirds.
Sure, but wasn't that part of the plan?
Yeah, it was, but
But having been handed the keys to Thunderbirds, the filmmakers seem to have settled on making most of the film an adaptation of Joe 90. After the TV series Thunderbirds, Jerry and Sylvia Anderson made 3 supermarionation series with more realistically proportioned puppets. One of those shows, Joe 90, was about a 9-year-old boy who wears glasses that allow him to tap into a pre-programmed set of skills, like turning him into a brain surgeon, or he's able to pilot a jet or become a master spy.
I do not know the landing procedure.
Because Joe's dad apparently thought nothing of having his child exploited by spy agencies. As a series, Joe 90 failed to make anywhere near the splash of shows like Thunderbirds, mainly because it was felt kids did not want to see a show about a kid. Here, the bulk of the film is Alan, Fermat and Tintin taking on the hood and his 2 quarter-witted accomplices. Why? In 2001, Robert Rodriguez's movie Spy Kids was a huge hit, leading to any number of goofy kids movies with children being spies or superheroes. The idea was, hey, why don't we do that with Thunderbirds? This Thunderbirds movie has action scenes and fights, which have goofy cartoon sound effects added to make any action feel less violent and more suitable for the kids of the day.
I concur.
It's also got humour and drama pitched at pre-teens. Well, what's the problem? Thunderbirds was always a kid show, wasn't it?
No way.
And realistically, the producers and Universal Studios were not going to spend millions of dollars on a Thunderbirds movie aimed at adults. Until, of course, somebody did just that the same year. What we have here is a kids' property that was really turned into a modern kids' movie of the time, which means we have school-aged Alan Tracy and Fermat noticing Tintin.
Blossoming? What's that supposed to mean?
Come on, Alan. You have a crush on her.
Thunderbirds was directed by Jonathan Frakes. Yes, Commander Riker from Star Trek The Next Generation. He'd been the first cast member of that series to try his hand at directing episodes, and pretty soon was helming episodes of various 90s Trek shows before directing 2 Star Trek movies in the late 90s. He'd made a kids movie, Clock Stoppers, and so he seemed a good fit. You know, he could juggle kids, special effects, beards. The man was a polymath.
Okay, cut, print. Boy, these special effects fellas know their job.
Frakes had also given his wife a small role as a reporter, soap star Jeannie Francis. The cast themselves work well enough with the material provided. Look, sure, it's tempting, but we really need to get back to Thunderbirds.
Why not me?
Because you're too young.
Star Brady Corbet had to carry the film. For what it's worth or not worth, he's decent enough given the film's idea of who Alan Tracy is. I'm on record as being an Alan skeptic, which means while I believe Alan Tracy exists, I don't believe he needs to be front and center of every Thunderbirds project. Such is the bizarro universe feeling to this film, John Tracy seems to have more dialogue than Scott, Virgil and Gordon combined. Bill Paxton is Jeff Tracy, and Bill Pullman is thankfully nowhere to be seen since that would be confusing. Paxton makes a decent Jeff Tracy, but somebody's obviously typecast him as a bloke who gets stuck in space. He's also not in it for much of the film. Sir Ben Kingsley is the Hood, because that Gandhi Oscar only takes you so far in life. There's a procession of mostly anonymous 20-somethings as the Tracy Boys, because apparently by the look of them, they are now a boy band, with lashings of hair product and highlights.
This is no time for flippancy.
Anthony Edwards' inventor brains, now actually Mr. Hackenbacker, seems to be mentally conjuring ways for his character from ER to return from the dead, and that's Disney starlet Vanessa Anne Hudgens as Tintin.
And hemlines are going up.
That is good news, my lady.
Oh, and apparently England won the football last night.
But I would venture the best casting in the film is Ron Cook as Parker and Sophia Myles as Lady Penelope. Parker still has that slightly dodgy air about him. He's a little bit ooh, a little bit air, he's a little bit he's a geezer.
Have a look at this, Parker.
If time travel was a thing, Sophia Myles could travel back to the 1960s and successfully sue Jerry and Sylvia Anderson for using her likeness. For a film set in the future, there's an awful lot of early 2000s Fords in this film, with the company logo displayed prominently at various points, because yeah, kids buy motor cars. Even Lady Penelope's Rolls-Royce Fab 1 seems to have been downgraded into a Ford concept car. So she's got money, just not that much. Hans Zimmer was at the time scoring every film under the sun, or at least the people who worked for him were. The film soundtrack is generic action film music of the era, but it is quality generic action film music. Also, Ramin Djawadi helped with the arrangement of the classic Barry Gray Thunderbirds theme, where, of course, he'd go on to create the music for Game of Thrones. The film also ends with a disposable early 2000s pop rock song. Of course, that's just me. The target age group loved the song by Busted, which means mission accomplished.
I'll need something to solder with.
We're in the middle of nowhere, Fremmit. Where are you gonna find something like that?
So while I liked some of the visuals, there is a lot of green screen. It's a very colourful film, but perhaps too colourful, with many sets looking like the production designers couldn't afford one colour in bulk and instead just raided a paint warehouse for free sample colour pots and used those.
FAB, Alan.
We don't normally give numerical scores for things, but hypothetically speaking, if we did give Thunderbirds a numerical score, what would we give it out of 5? 5? No. 4? I don't think so. 3? Getting warmer. 2? 1? No, too far. Back it up. 2? Yeah, sounds about right. Jerry Anderson wasn't involved, but would later say he was offered payments to say nice things about the film. In the end, he declined to say nice things about this movie, but I heard on the grapevine he was really impressed by the DVD screensaver. I had stayed away from this film for a very long time, and I found while it wasn't a total disaster, it was a minor disaster, like an actual disaster where they'd called international rescue, because in this film, they kind of forgot about the actual Thunderbirds and instead gave us the Alan Tracy origin story that nobody asked for, outside of the Alan Tracy fan club, Alan Anonymous.
The world needs Thunderbirds, and the Thunderbirds need you.
Thunderbirds was made for an audience who had probably never actually seen an episode of Thunderbirds before, so perhaps borrowing ideas from Spy Kids wasn't a terrible idea, but the execution leaves a lot to be desired. And they still make a joke about strings. Look, I can improve on that. There is so much hanging about in this film, but not enough tension. There is slack plotting with story threads that are in danger of becoming tangled. The plot strand of the Hood being one of the people that the Tracys didn't manage to save is about on par for this era, dangling like fruit on a sagging branch. Look, I'm done. On its release in cinemas in the summer of 2004, Thunderbirds did quite poorly at the box office. Its worldwide ticket sales barely recovered half of its production budget, which would make this a pretty major bomb. The film's reputation is that it's terrible. Maybe it's not quite as bad as that, but it's still pretty ordinary. It might be a pleasant enough diversion and entertain you in the right circumstances. Perhaps you need to take your mind off something like high winds, people shouting shark, or air raid sirens. For fans of the 1960s television show, it's probably only for the morbidly curious. Though having said that, the people who were in the target age group for a kids movie in 2004, well, the ones that saw it really enjoyed it. I mean, enough of them didn't drag their parents to see it for this to be a theatrical hit, but over time they've come to love it. Jonathan Frakes felt that the movie's reception derailed his feature directing career, though he's continued to do well as a television director. But the movie's star is the reason we've revisited this review. In 2025, Brady Corbet was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Director for his film The Brutalist. Nice. I mean, he didn't win, but just being nominated is pretty cool. If that's not a contender for the Stam Fine shit yeah of 2025, then I don't know what is.
Thunderbirds are go.
The people who were kids in the 2000s would mostly have enjoyed this. Earlier generations who watched the original series would probably look at this and be appalled. A decade later, there would be a very well-received Thunderbirds Argo TV series, a show that had a much better reception. And now it's Paw Patrol, which is basically Thunderbirds with puppies.
It will be a great disaster.
This 2004 version of Thunderbirds shows Thunderbirds fans across the generations can share the experience of having a disappointing big screen adaptation of Thunderbirds.
And I don't like that.
Though, like anything, there will be fans for whom this is what Thunderbirds is. Bless.
I didn't see that one coming.
I suppose you guys think this is funny.
This was a one-shot thanks to its poor reception, but I can't help thinking I might have been interested in a spin-off from this film, ditching International Rescue and instead concentrating on Miles and Cook as Penny and Parker.
That's quite enough losing for one day.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, leave a comment below, or check out some of our other videos.
All good things have to come to an end. What are you going to show me now?